Another interesting feature of Excel is called data validation. It allows you to put restrictions in certain cells based on whatever criteria that you have. So for example, if you have a column here that has an hourly rate and you want to limit it to, let's say, $12 and nothing less, you can always say cell has to be greater than or equal to $12. As an example, we're going to use division score. Now we're going to type in a lot of these, let's say hundreds of division scores, and it is possible that we would make a mistake by typing in a number like 7 or 8 or 9, whereas we're only allowed to have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So step 1 is to highlight the cells that you want to perform data validation in, and you can highlight blank cells for future use as well. So in the Data tab, click the Data Validation button, and in some cases it is rectangular, not square. Click it and you'll see this. Right now Excel allows any cell at all, any box, to have any value including blanks. We want to restrict that. So we can choose either number, so you want only specific numbers, specific decimal places. It could be chosen from a list, or text length, for example. So if you have UPC code or product code or employee ID number and it's only 5 characters long, you could restrict it to exactly that. So we're going to choose number, and don't worry about the word whole, it doesn't really mean anything, but it is a number, and we want values in our case between, and you can do less than, greater than, equal to, whatever operator you like. So I'm going to say between 1 and 5, because the only numbers we're allowed to put in division score is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I could put an input message telling the employee what it's all about. I usually don't, but I like to put the error alert. So in case the user makes a mistake, I want to alert them as to what the error is. So I might say something like error. Value must be between 1 and 5. And then maybe more. See policy manual A52, meaning page A52. So I'm giving the user a little bit of help before they start panicking or before they start calling other people about what's wrong. So I'll click OK, and nothing happens, but there is a validation there, and you can always go back to data validation and you can clear it if you like. Okay, so let's try it. You put a 5, it works, no problem. But if I put a 9, for example, it will stop you and it'll alert you and tell you to retry. And actually you can't even save the file, you can't even put the 9 there if you wanted to. So that's a great way to protect yourself from making certain errors. Obviously user errors cannot be protected this way, but it certainly helps prevent some errors. Now if we go back to data validation, you notice that in settings there was an ignore blank option. If you uncheck that, it means that any cells that you highlighted, you are not allowed to leave blank, meaning you will not even be able to save the file. So you don't want to use that everywhere, but for example, for a product ID or an employee ID, maybe the very first column, you might want to do that. So that if a person does not put an employee ID or product ID, you cannot move on. You can't put a product name or an employee name unless there's an ID there. And quite often you see that on the internet where there's some boxes that are absolutely required.